Sequestration is starting to affect real-world activities. The first thing that it did was to put into disarray military contracting. So contracts for new weapons, even various, kinds of maintenance at bases, the kinds of things that could be put off that required new agreements between the government and some outside entity were typically slowed down or just suspended altogether. Then you started to see some economies and nitty-gritty things like air shows, and that's already happening. Then you started to see the expected reduction in military training this summer, which is sort of like giving half the military the summer off. So some of the things with sequestration that we've been discussing, for example, military training. It's not so bad if for a month or two a given pilot doesn't fly very much. That pilot's not going to lose a lot of skill in that period of time. However, if you were to repeat that, then you start to get into a situation where the forces that are getting ready to go to Afghanistan or Korea or where have you are also not getting their training. And then you start to get just ripple effects through the force. People not doing their usual training regimen year after year. That starts to really affect skills. Don't forget that a lot of people in the military are new in any given year. About somewhere around a sixth of them are new. And so those people, they don't need time off. They need to learn. They need to practice. And if we deprive them of a quarter of the year every year, that's going to be a mistake. That's one reason why continuation of sequestration would be a bad idea. So when you look at it across the board, this kind of planning, this kind of mechanism for saving money is not very good. Now the broader question remains, how much can we save if we do it right, if we plan it correctly? And that's what I really try to focus on in my book, Healing the Wounded Giant. Whenever you cut substantial amounts of money in the Department of Defense, you're basically giving up some capability. But some of those capabilities are less crucial than others. I'll give a couple of examples of where I think we can accept a little more risk and a little less capability. The ground forces, the U.S. Army and Marine Corps. We are reducing their size a little bit right now as Iraq and Afghanistan end as missions for the U.S. military, but we're planning to keep them slightly larger than they were in the 1990s. I would cut back the ground forces to slightly less than their 1990s size instead of keeping them slightly greater. Just one more example, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. This is a magnificent plane. It's a stealthy plane. It's meant to be an attack aircraft for 3 of the services. I think we need the F-35, but we're planning to buy almost 2,500 of them. The reason the number is so enormous is because we're essentially trying to replace a lot of aging aircraft on almost a one-for-one basis. We should base the number on which plausible high-end threats we think we could face. And when I do the calculation that way, I wind up recommending about half as many F-35s. I think Secretary Hagel will probably recommend additional reductions in the budget. My confident prediction is that they will be substantially less than the $500 billion additional reduction that would result over 10 years from continued sequestration. And that would also provide a good ingredient into a possible fiscal deal where everyone's contributing and there's a sense of shared sacrifice. It's then going to be up to the Congress to decide if they really want to engage in seeking that kind of a reasonable compromise.